Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's topic is what is spillover and how to manage spillover. Before getting into spillover, I want to highlight certain things that already we have discussed in our previous episodes because it has so much connection to this topic. We already discussed in one of our episode what is the entry and exit criteria of the sprint. In entry criteria, we talked about many parameters, many attributes, those all things should be available. Then only we can start the sprint like that. I am more interested to talk about exit criteria. What we discussed in that episode is there is no exit criteria for the sprint because sprint is a time boxed event. What does that mean? It means whether whatever the planned items that I targeted to complete during the sprint execution, whether I complete it or not, when the time reaches the last day of the sprint is done, regardless of the status of the work items which are available in the sprint backlog. That's the reason we don't say any special conditions like, okay, these all things should be taken care, then only we can close the sprint. There is nothing like that. What is the exit criteria? Exit criteria is very simple. Once we reach the last day of the sprint, if it is the length of the sprint is 2 weeks, it is the 10th day, 10th working day, or if it is 3 week sprint, it may be the 15th working day. That is the last working day. That day it will be done, regardless of whatever the status of the work items. So this is one key thing we want to remember. Now, it's fine that we are completing the sprint, but what happens to those items which are still in progress, which are not completed? What will happen to those work items? Those work items are called as the spillover work items. So in simple definition, what is spillover? Spillover work items are the work items that are not completed on the last day of the sprint. Those we call it as spillover. Those work items are called as spillover. Okay, so how to manage this? That is the next question, right? So we learned that sprint doesn't have any exit criteria. So when we hit the last day of the sprint is done, regardless of the status of the work items in the sprint backlog. That's the first thing we want to remember. Second thing is, what is spillover? Spillover are the work items that are available in the status other than completed on the last day of the sprint. Other than completed, whatever it can be, either we would have started and we are in progress, or we have not even started it, or it is in design phase, whatever may be the state. Other than completed, any state the work items are in on the last working day, they are considered to be the spillover items. Now we are clear what is spillover and what is the reason behind it. Now, how to manage this? That is a very, very important topic. Why? Because what actually the spillover is giving a meaning. Whatever we have committed, we are unable to deliver according to that commitment. That is what the meaning is all about. So now, if we only pass this information to the stakeholders, they may not have any confidence, right, at the end of the sprints. Like, we are inching towards our release, and now if this is the rhythm that every sprint we are spilling over certain work items, what will be the confidence level of the stakeholder seeing the spillovers to reach the release? They may not have a good feeling about this. Now we need to actually give a very good positive note by informing them what is the catch up plan. What is catch up plan? Some items have gone into spillover and we missed it. We know that we have missed that sprint in the sprint execution. Now, what is the catch-up plan for this items? If we give that catch-up plan to the stakeholders, they know that, okay, fine, yes, certainly some of the work items got spilled over, but team already has worked on the catch-up plan and they are already having a very good plan to manage the situation. That is what the catch-up plan gives the information. So how to prepare this catch-up plan and how to start the work of this catch-up plan, we will see now. So I will try to give different examples with different scenarios so that it is very easy to understand and correlate the situation. So now we have already discussed about one more topic called mid-sprint execution report. We already talked about that particular topic in a separate episode. So I request who have not listened to that episode, please listen to that episode as well. The reason being, we discussed about how we will be creating that report and what is the benefit of the report we have discussed. But quickly to summarize, in that report, we will be giving the high-level status of the work items that are available in that sprint backlog, which is in the sprint execution, right? In the sprint execution, the backlog, whatever the backlog that we are using in the sprint, we will give the high-level status. What is that high-level status? Whether it is started, that means whether it is only 4 status, okay, or maybe 5. 4 is, one is not started, the work item itself is not yet started. Second one is in progress, third one is completed, and fourth one is blocked. It's very simple. Put the work item ID, work item description or the title, and put the status and comments. If it is done, no issue, it is done. By mid of the sprint itself, some of the work items are completed. That is really good. Some of the work items are not even started yet, but we are already in the mid of the sprint. Some of the work items are in progress, some are blocked, maybe for some reason. Okay, this is what we will be sharing as a mid-sprint execution report. In this report, every day we are tracking and monitoring how the execution goes. From this report sharing onwards, we need to be little bit adding some time for preparing this catch-up plan. If everything is on the track, if we are able to see in the mid-sprint report, everything is on the track and we don't see or we don't foresee any kind of things that will come up as a spillover, then it is fine. But certainly let's take situations, already total 5 work items, okay, in that 2 are completed and 2 are in progress, one it's not started itself. Now as a Scrum Master, I am feeling, do we really have enough time to manage this not started work item? Will we be able to pick this up, work on this, and will we be able to complete before the last day of the sprint? Looks like somewhere it's not possible. Now, there are also chances it can also end on the last day of the sprint. But as a Scrum Master, we need to really foresee the situation and act in a proactive way, not in a reactive way. Because we need to be really prepared with the catch-up plan. Catch-up plan cannot be prepared by Scrum Master alone. Product owner also should get involved. That's what we are going to see now. So now, the very important thing is the catch-up plan preparation time will start right after the mid-sprint execution report. So that means mid of the sprint, whether it is 2-week sprint or 3-week sprint, whatever may be the length of the sprint, that is the time we need to start working on the catch-up plan, because this mid-sprint report will give us some kind of understanding whether we may get into any spillover or not. Now let's consider there is one item I feel as a Scrum Master it may get into spillover. So what is my next step? I need to call my PO, product owner. So I am going to explain where are we with this work, and I feel this will eventually get into a spillover mode. I need your help for preparing the catch-up plan. Okay. So what is this catch-up plan going to have? First thing, put the work item ID, work item title and description, and say it got spilled over. Any impact, whether this work item has any impact on the upcoming sprint work items or not, or any impact within the sprint or upcoming sprint, what is the impact? And then what is the catch-up plan? Now, this is the format we are going to prepare in the catch-up plan. Now let's try to understand step by step. What is the impact, how to identify that, how to bring up the catch-up plan is the next item we are going to discuss. So in this catch-up plan document, two things are very easy. One is the work item ID and the title that we can easily fill. Next item is what is the impact. Now let's try to understand with some examples with different scenarios, then it will be easy. First example, I am working on a user story which is related to, my team is working on a user story which is related to creating users. Okay, creating users is the functionality that we wanted to implement, but unfortunately we have not yet started that user story itself. So as a Scrum Master, I have the feeling that it may eventually get into the spillover mode. So I am sitting with my product owner to explain that this is the user story which may get into spillover mode. So let's prepare the catch-up plan and be ready. Now, the first thing what we need to see is what is the impact of this work item and what is the work item doing all about. Now, this particular creating users is very simple story. Okay, it doesn't have too many use cases or too many complex scenarios, just a single web page. In that web page, we will be entering certain details. On clicking on submit, it will go and sit on the backend. That's all. The user is created. But there is an impact because of the story. What is that impact? Next sprint. Let's say that the current sprint what we are working now is sprint 2. Sprint 3 is the upcoming sprint. In sprint 3 what we have planned? We have planned 2 stories which are for modifying the user and deleting the user. When I say we have planned, the sprint planning is not yet done, but always product owner will be keep looking for what comes in the next sprint so that they will be able to start drafting the sprint goal and then align with the team. They should have the priority list. They should know the order of execution. So product owner knows that in the upcoming sprint, that is the third sprint, we will be picking up modifying the user as well the deletion of user. Now there is a catch. If user itself is not created, how are we going to modify and delete the user? That is the reason we have planned in sprint 2 creating users related user story so that it will be done and be ready. We will be able to create users in the application, and in sprint 3 we will be modifying and deleting the users which are already available in the system by using this create users functionality. Now this functionality itself is not ready. How to manage this situation? In this itself, 2 options. Okay, I'm going to same scenario. Please remember this scenario. This is the situation. I'm going to talk in 2 different ways. What will happen in one scenario, possibility, and another scenario and possibility. First scenario is product owner is telling, no, actually I need it very badly, this creating users functionality as well, because without creation of users, it's really hard to create the modification functionality. Even though if we create it, we need to additionally do the step of pushing the user list from the backend manually through scripts, which I don't encourage. So initially I thought of having in sprint 3 both modification and deletion. Now considering this spillover, I cannot plan like that. So what I'm going to think of is, let's move this left out work what is in creating users in sprint 3. In addition to that, modification of users also let's plan it in sprint 3. Deletion, let's move it to sprint 4. This is one option from product owner. Now the second option, this is one option, so you got it right. So like there is a spillover, that spillover cannot be missed out right now. So in the upcoming sprint itself, product owner wants to pick up that and ensure that some other item that he or she is planning, that they need to remove it. Anyway, it's not it's planned it as part of sprint, but actually, as I mentioned earlier also, product owner will be preparing for the upcoming sprint well in advance. So now this is one situation. Second situation is creation of users got spilled over. Now product owner is saying, actually creation of users is a very important functionality, of course, for modification and deletion as well. But the use cases that are available in modification of users and deletion of users are more. Scenarios are more, which actually product management team is looking for early in the review, so that if some other changes they want to make, they will be able to share it as part of the review. So they want to see the working product of modification and deletion as early as possible. That's what product owner heard in his or her recent product management meeting. But creation of users functionality is not ready. So how to manage this? So now product owner is saying creation of users is a very simple functionality, and even it is a very simple page and no more complex scenarios, no use cases. So I can convince the product management team saying that we are going to implement that maybe in the upcoming sprint, that is sprint 4, not on sprint 3. In sprint 3, we will be focusing on modification and deletion of users, which has lot many scenarios to complete. As well, it will be easy for the product management team also to review and give the feedback as early as possible, as it has so many use cases. Now what product owner is suggesting is like, let's put this creation of users related work item that is in progress in sprint 2. Let's, if it is not getting completed on the last day of the sprint 2, that means it's a spillover. Let's not invest time to complete this work item in sprint 3. Let's move it to the backlog, product backlog, till maybe when we complete the modification and deletion, maybe in sprint 4 we can pick up this. This is the plan from the product owner. So same scenario, same kind of work item I explained. I pick the work item in such a way so that we are able to understand now the difference. In first situation, it is required because of the order of execution and the flow the product management team wants to see and stakeholders wants to see, and product owner wants to get the feel whether things are as per the expectation. But in second situation, product management team already explicitly mentioned somewhere to the product owner, I am more interested on modification and deletion of use cases because it has too many complex scenarios. So as early as possible, please share the working product for us. So as early as possible here is already we are in sprint 2. We cannot do anything with that sprint. So sprint 3, we are going to pick that up because that is the recent priority and the interest what we received from the stakeholders. So we don't want to again invest time on creation of users. So we are keeping it aside. Aside means here the product backlog. So maybe in sprint 4, we will be picking that up. These are two scenarios. Let's see one more scenario, which is the third scenario. What is that scenario? Let's take a different example, okay? Help functionality. we wanted to implement, but unfortunately it became a spillover now. Now, during the sprint execution itself, product owner, when he or she is discussing with the product management team expressed the request. Now we are preparing the help file only in English language, but we want to localize the product, which means it should support different languages. So in future, we need to create stories for other languages as well. So now already the execution is going on and team is working on that help file related functionality for English. So now this at the end, this work item is not yet completed. It is in progress. Now, as the recent talk with the product management team, few more languages we need to add. So now product owner is explaining the situation and telling for other languages we don't have yet the translation files, which means the respective language translation files are not available. So we cannot pick up that work now. It doesn't matter even if we complete only English. So why can't we park this work item and create dependencies related to the translation files, and let's start working with the translation team and get the language files, and then pick up this work item, and at one shot we will be able to plan for all the different languages and manage it, because already the language framework is available, but only thing is for language strings which are for different languages it is not available, because already team is working. They already completed like 70% of the work where framework is available, but they need to complete the testing, they need to fine tune on the code, all those things are missing. That's why it became spillover. Anyway, now we need to introduce few more languages, so it doesn't matter if we complete the story now, so we can park it. So now product owner is saying, let's park this work item in the product backlog and keep working on the language strings to collect it as dependencies, and then when we are really ready, I will also get the list of languages, because as it is a newly added item from the product management team, I also want to spend some time with the product management team to understand, is there a set of languages or is it one more language, how many languages, accordingly we need to plan. So for this I need some time with the product management team. So let's park it to the product backlog and let's not pull this work item in near future till we have all the information available. So this is an entirely different scenario. Now all these things we have discussed. How are we going to use these things in our catch-up plan? That is the next point. So as I mentioned, we prepared the catch-up plan with work item ID and the title description. These two columns are easy. The next one is impact. So in the first case and the second case, of course, there is an impact. Create users functionality is not available. And in first case, the catch-up plan is to pick the create users functionality, which is a spillover work item in the upcoming sprint, that is sprint 3, which may potentially push one more work item, that is the delete functionality, into the next sprint, which is yet to be planned in the sprint planning meeting. In the second condition, create users functionality is not working, that is the impact, of course. But what is the option that we are bringing? We are going to use modification and deletion functionality as of now in sprint 3 with the help of manually pushing the users from the backend. That is the alternate way that we have found. What is the catch-up plan? Pick up this create users functionality maybe in sprint 4 or greater than sprint 4 according to the priority. In the last option, that is language related help file, impact is no impact at all, because as of now the requirement itself is going on for a change, so it's not going to affect us. in any way, so there is no impact. Catch up plan is once the language files are available and the clarity from product management team is available, then we will be picking up this work item. So these are the information we need to share: the work item ID, work item title and description, and what is the impact, and what is the catch up plan. When to share this and whom and all will get this? This should be provided during the sprint closure. During the sprint closure, there is a report called sprint closure report, will be shared to the stakeholders. So when sharing that, they will be knowing, oh my god, there are some spillover items. In addition to that, if we share this catch up plan, if there are spillover items, that will give confidence to them. Okay, already team is working on, they are already in aligned with how to manage this spillover. So if there is no impact, or if there is impacted item means they have a plan to pick up that immediately, or there is an alternate way to manage right now. And if there is no impact, they are looking for something to clear it up. So that clarity will be provided in the catch up plan. So whenever there is a spillover happen, this should be taken care. So this is the best practice which needs to be used and taken care during the time when we have spillovers. I believe I have shared all the information related to what is spillover, and sprint being a time boxed event, and with the different examples how to manage the spillover, and what is catch up plan, what is the benefit of catch up plan, all these things that we have discussed. Hopefully this would have helped many of you in understanding the spillover and its management. Thanks everyone for listening. Happy learning and stay tuned.